Hi everyone! Today we're going to be talking about some of the ways in which the Enneagram of personality theory can help us grow on a more holistic level beyond our core type. And for that I'm going to be using the triads, so the feeling triad, the thinking triad, and the gut triad, to kind of look at things holistically and share a few ideas, a few insights with respect to how somebody can grow and change and develop using this specific framework. So all about that in the next few minutes. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's dive in. So I've talked a lot about the triads on my channel before, and this is quite a fundamental concept when it comes to the Enneagram of personality, that basically there are three different triads. The feeling triad, which is composed of types 2, 3, and 4, types that have a focus on their identity and there's an underlying feeling of shame. The thinking or the head triad, which are types 5, 6, and 7, types that are focused more on creating safety and security and have an underlying feeling of fear, of anxiety. And then the gut or instinctive triad, types 8, 9, and 1, which have an underlying feeling of anger or rage and a focus on independence, autonomy, and control. Now, one time before, about a year ago, I think, on my channel, I also talked about positive intelligence, or PQ, a concept that comes from Shirzad Chamine, and which basically also has very, very similar vibes as the Enneagram. But what I like about it is that it talks about people as composed of two different parts. One part is the sage. I think in Enneagram terms, this would be the essence. So the part of ourselves where we are mindful, we are present, we are connected with ourselves. It kind of goes deeper than our defense mechanisms and insecurities and fears. And the other part is the saboteur mind or the saboteur brain, which is responsible for a lot of our suffering in our day-to-day life, and is represented by many layers that kind of come on top of that sage or that essence. And there are 10 saboteurs. One of them is called the master saboteur, which is like the judge, the internal critical voice that we have. And then together with the judge, there are 9 other saboteurs which pretty much map almost one-to-one to the Enneagram. Some of them have even the exact same name, like the achiever or the perfectionist, so for types 1 and 3. And some of them have different names, but they are still very similar. So for example, instead of the challenger for type 8, we have the controller. Or instead of the helper for type 2, we have the pleaser. But very similar vibes, very similar attitude. And basically, the reason why I'm introducing positive intelligence in this conversation about growing holistically is because the same as Enneagram, positive intelligence also says that even though we all can be influenced by all of these saboteurs, there's usually one that is stronger than the others, and then a couple more which are also quite strong. Which is in line with what the Enneagram says, that we tend to have one core type, and then the wing and the tri-type mean that there are a couple more other types which have a certain stronger influence on us than other types. However, since they are all natural, let's say, human tendencies, they will all influence us at least to a certain degree. Now, coming back to our original idea, how can we grow holistically using these concepts and these ideas? I like the conceptualization of the triads from the Enneagram because it helps us see the 3 different parts of every human being: the head, the heart, and the gut, very simply put. If you have a dominant core type that comes from a certain triad, it means that that triad's themes will be more related to the aspects of growth that you will be concerned with in your day-to-day life. So for example, if you're a type 3, as a core type, the achiever, the hyperachiever, then you are someone who has more work to do on themes related to the feeling triad, underlying feeling of shame, or feeling not good enough, or feeling that people will not be able to love you. If you're someone who has a core type 5, then you will have more themes to work on related to the thinking triad, to the underlying feeling of fear, of insecurity, that you cannot really find that security within yourself and you constantly need to do something for that, and so on and so forth. However, every single person can benefit from working on themes related to all of these 3 triads, because we all have influences from all of them, and they are all themes that are present in our lives. Sure, if you know your core type, do more work on that and that specific triad, but don't neglect the others, because they will also play a certain role in your life. So how can we use the 3 different elements? If we start with the thinking triad or the head triad, what is really important to learn from this specific part of ourselves is that when we are obsessively looking for security in areas of our lives that could potentially promise that, but forget or neglect working on the feeling of internal security that we have, or we could create for ourselves, this will be a never-ending cycle. Looking for security in relationships, solely there. Looking for security in jobs, in financial matters that are not solely dependent on us. Looking for security in certain groups of people that we might want to belong to will never truly satisfy us, because yes, they are important. I'm not here to say that, oh, everything is up to you and your relationships don't matter, because they do, of course they do. But beyond that, when we overly focus on the external world and getting that sense of security from there, we will inevitably end up still feeling anxious and still feeling insecure and still feeling like we haven't truly found that sense of safety and security. And we will use the different strategies that the Enneagram talks about and positive intelligence talks about, like over worrying about the future and being hyper vigilant, or over worrying about our sense of competence and how much we know about something, or exploring too many different possibilities and not settling for anything. These are all coping mechanisms that in one way or another neglect that sense of true inner safety that can only come from ourselves. It can be supported by our relationships, our accomplishments, our finances, but they will never be enough if we neglect that one. And some ways to do that are aspects related to mindfulness and meditation and really connecting with who we are. But sometimes that's not enough, and sometimes we might need to go to therapy, we might need to go to coaching to really address that underlying feeling of, I don't feel safe enough, I don't feel protected, I feel like something bad is going to happen to me. Moving on to the feeling triad or to the heart triad. The core of this group, let's say, or this part of ourselves is this deep belief that I am not enough. I need to prove my worth. I need to do something either to help other people all the time, or to have the greatest accomplishments in the world and be the best at what I do, or to be special and different and unique, because only then will I deserve to get love. But guess what? Even if we do that, we still don't feel loved. Because even if people appreciate our efforts or appreciate our accomplishments or appreciate our identity, we will not feel truly loved, because appreciation is not the same as love. Focusing on accomplishments, focusing on pleasing people, focusing on being special and unique might get us appreciation and recognition, but it will not get us love, because love comes when we show who we are and people can really love our essence, our core that's there, beyond everything else that we do, beyond everything else that we say. So even if, for example, I worked so hard to be the best at my job and I hope that people will see that, they might say, wow, you did a fantastic job, you're great at what you do, but I will still not feel loved, because that's not love. There's just recognition or appreciation, and it's not the same thing. So something very important here is the detachment from our egos and the ability to see our egos, because it's our egos that want to be recognized. It's our egos that want to impress. But the ego will never feel truly loved, because that's not what we love in a person. We don't love their egos. We love what's beyond. And I'm not here to say that you should get rid of your ego, because I don't think that's possible, truly. But I'm here to say, be mindful of your ego, notice it, see it, recognize it for what it is, and stop lying to yourself. Because once you see it for yourself and once you're honest with yourself, it will be you who's controlling the ego rather than the ego controlling you. And that will create a massive difference. Okay, and lastly, the gut or the instinctive triad. What about that? I think an important element to understand here is that this sense of control, of autonomy, is very deeply related to our bodies and our instincts. It's through our bodies and through our material form that we can have a stronger impact or a stronger control over the world around us. Yes, our thoughts and feelings matter, and they do also influence our bodies and our actions, but it's more the concrete here from this category that really creates that control in the outside world. And for certain types, this is more difficult to accept, because if, for example, someone is an intuitive, they might have a bit of resistance to the concreteness of this element. Or if they're an Enneagram type 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and kind of have the gut triad as a bit lower, there might be some challenges associated with this. However, again, an important theme here is to understand that obsessing over control in order to feel independent is yet another way to kind of deceive yourself and focus your attention on something else rather than the essence of things. And what does that mean? Well, it means that sometimes being really present and mindful and connected helps us better access our bodies and helps us get in touch with our, let's say, availability or readiness to take action. When we take action, we do create more impact, we do create more things around us, and we do feel more independent and autonomous, but not in an absolute way, because there's no such thing as absolute independence. Yeah, like there's also no such thing as absolute security or love. However, the more we act from a place of being connected with ourselves, from knowing, from feeling as well, the more those actions will be aligned with who we are, and the more those actions will reflect our internal world in a way that is authentic to us, in a way that is meaningful to us. And by doing that, our actions could reverberate in the world around us and also create positive impact by inspiring other people to do the same. So these are my thoughts on how each of the triad has a specific type of wisdom that it can teach us. And yes, you might benefit more by focusing on the triad that has more to do with your core type or where your core type belongs. However, don't neglect the other triads, because they also have really important lessons to teach you, because they have something to teach all of us. So thank you very much for being with me. Thank you very much for watching this video. And as always, see you next time with another video on typology.